country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What did I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much,
Yeah, well,
and I pay all my taxes.
Summer camp, summer camp. Everybody has a summer camp. What the heck was Bernie Sanders talking about? Well, first of all, I had to start with that because I'm trying to figure out what would a Bernie Sanders summer camp look like? And by the way, everybody on Twitter, people all across the country, Instagram, they've come up with some doozies about a Bernie Sanders summer camp. I have my own. I mean, is it a bread line or the gulags in the back for the children that misbehave? What's happening?
What does happen at a Bernie summer camp? Can we tweet that?
Yes,
Jenny,
let's tweet it, Jenny.
Happen?
Absolutely, we'll tweet it.
What do you think, Jenny, happens at a Bernie summer camp?
I think if you misbehave, you go to the gulag.
That's right. That was what I was thinking too, Adam.
I want to hear what our listeners have to say. Tweet at us what happens at a Bernie summer camp.
Yes, a Bernie summer camp. Summer camp on Bernie's farm, somewhere in Vermont or somewhere. And, here's the socialist, right? He's running on a socialist platform. He lauds the Soviet Union. We've seen all those videos where he talked about the bread lines, and his folks in his camp have talked about the gulags and how they weren't that bad. And, this is just crazy talk, America. I mean, look, honestly, I would love to see Bernie sitting around my dinner table, and I would want him to be like the crazy uncle that starts all the fights, on the holidays where you're all just staring at him and going, I can't believe Uncle Bernie just said that. But maybe he would give everybody the same present, huh? You wouldn't be any favorites, so that might be a good thing.
What does Bernie Sanders bring to a Thanksgiving dinner?
Summer camp. Summer camp brochures. That's what he brings.
I just can't right now.
I had to start out with that because it was just the weirdest Democratic debate. It was so entertaining. And by the way, I didn't know what channel to watch. I was like going in between Fox News, going back to the Democrat debate, going back and forth. It was so insane. I thought maybe I should have had 2 televisions so I could watch the president's rally in Phoenix and then also watch at the same time the Democratic debate because Mike Bloomberg, Elizabeth Warren, it was like cat fights. There were ups and downs. Everybody was struggling to stay alive during the debate. I want to play this clip because it was so insane. I walked to the kitchen and then Elizabeth Warren said this.
We will have Donald Trump for another 4 years, and we can't stand that.
So I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians.
What?
And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Democrats are not going to win if we have a nominee who has a history of hiding his tax returns, of harassing women, and of supporting racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk.
Holy cow. That was like, where did that come from? That was like smackdown. And everyone who watched this, I mean, some of you didn't watch this at all. I'm sure a lot of you were just watching the rally, and then maybe saw reruns because everybody's playing this clip, right? I mean, it's like Elizabeth Warren saying these, I don't even want to say the words. I don't even want to say it. I mean, I don't know. Did Michael Bloomberg say this? Yes, it probably did. Yeah, but I mean, the horse face and fat cows and all of this, and then it was just coming out of her mouth, and I was standing in the kitchen. I looked over at the TV, and I was like, okay, I have to go back and rewind that. Did she just say that? And then, of course, Twitter exploded. Everybody's like, oh, Elizabeth Warren. But think about this. What are the options for the Democrats? Here you have Mike Bloomberg, this man who can pour more money than anybody on the planet into this race, right? Spent over $500 million, is planning to spend even more to try to basically steal. This is what Democrats are saying that support Bernie. Steal the Democratic election, right? Steal the platform from Bernie Sanders. and everyone else. But then he brought up a good point. He's like, well, wait a minute. Mike Bloomberg's like, well, it's me or you guys got a bunch of socialists up here. So take your pick. Do you think any of these socialists, which he said every single one of them were, from Pete Buttigieg to Elizabeth Warren. I think Amy Klobuchar kind of doesn't fit in that exactly. She's more of a moderate like Bloomberg. But then that's what you have to pick from. So the Democrats and the DNC, especially, look, Donna Brazile said it in her book. She said that, it was basically stolen from Bernie because Hillary Clinton had enough money. So she was able to, fill up the coffers of the Democratic National Committee. They just backed her. A lot of people were worried and some people said, no way. Mike Bloomberg's not going to go for the superdelegates. But guess what? After that performance on stage, which it was terrible, but honestly, he was the only one there that was even a moderate. He might just do that. And notice how he didn't even engage. Like Elizabeth Warren said that and he didn't say, oh, heck no, that's not true. He didn't say anything. He just stood back. And then, people were tweeting like Donald Trump Jr. It made me laugh. He said, look, Bloomberg's shaking now. He doesn't know what to do. He's shaking. And he did look like he was really nervous and taken off guard, shaking a little bit. But he thought, you know what? I'm just not going to engage in this because anything I say will be bad. And he was right. So he just stayed quiet. He stayed quiet throughout any accusations, stayed quiet throughout the debate. And then he would pummel them on all their socialist ideas. So for you Democrats out there who are listening to this and independents, I don't know what you guys are going to do. You're going to do whatever you want to do. If you don't like Trump, you're going to vote for whoever the other person is, right? But as far as I can see right now, President Donald Trump is like a shoo-in 2020. I don't know what else to say unless the Democrats come up with something different and actually have a platform that they can stand on. So, that's all I'm going to say about that Democratic debate because we have so many more coming in the future. There's going to be so much fun here. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. I'm waiting for another gaffe from Joe Biden somewhere along the line. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be just great. And right now, the big news, another big piece of news that happened during all of this commotion was basically the President Trump confirmed in a Twitter, on Twitter in his tweet that the ambassador from the United States to Germany, Richard Grenell, is going to be the next director of national intelligence. This is awesome. I'm going to tell you why. I think he's actually the first openly gay man to take this position, which is huge. He is a good friend. I think Rick Grenell is an amazing human being. He's very diplomatic, but he's also really tough. But he knows what he's doing. And there are haters out there. There are people out there saying, you know what? President Trump just selected Rick Grenell because he's a loyalist. So what? So they agree on the same things regarding foreign policy. Rick Grenell has done an incredible job in Germany. He has held the Germans accountable. He has held NATO accountable to pay their fair share. The United States doesn't want to carry the whole burden. And he's been very diplomatic about it. And so what if the Germans get upset sometimes with him? For the first time, we have somebody who actually is willing to stand up for the United States and not just pander to these other, great nations in Europe who try to flex their muscle but don't want to pay their fair share. And there's also a lot of other issues that Rick Grenell has been involved in, by the way. And let's talk about his past. He was with the UN and he worked as a spokesman with the UN. He's done incredible work in Germany just recently. And I'm going to pull up this story here because I don't want to be wrong about it in any way, shape, or form. It's a really incredible piece.
Do you want to hear from Richard while you look that up? I have audio.
Oh, I would love that. That would be great.
So
play some
Richard
audio.
Right now, here you go.
It is only by having nimble and outward-looking allies that the United States can continue the role of global superpower effectively. For those countries which do not share our values and goals, President Trump is not waiting around for the arc of history. He does not make regime change a precondition for negotiations. Instead, the president is determined to outcompete our adversaries. But he's also willing to cut deals where Americans and global security will benefit. He is incentivizing our adversaries to change their behavior, not mobilizing to replace them.
Okay. So I was looking for a document I had here and now I can't find it. But it's okay because I know what it's about. To the extent of his work in Kosovo and Serbia and what he's been able to do there and how, Rick has been able to basically massage and maneuver and deal with, two nations that don't even want to deal with each other. And now we see that there's talk that something's happening. And that's because of Rick Grenell. I also know because of his diplomacy that taking the helm as the director of national intelligence is going to be so beneficial because he's an outsider, right? He's an outsider coming in. This isn't taking somebody from the inside of the intelligence community, somebody who's already, embedded into this bureaucracy. He's going to come in and he is going to shake it up. And he is going to say, okay, what's going on here, CIA? Why aren't you sharing with FBI? FBI, why aren't you sharing with DEA? What's going on here? What is happening here? Because we know there's so many problems inside the DNI still. Do you think Rick Grenell could do anything? It's uphill from here. Think about James Clapper and his role as the DNI in the Obama administration. It was a joke in the end. And we could see how they were all operating together. John Brennan, James Clapper. They utilized it for themselves, for their own preservation, ideology, basically to go after President Trump in 2016. And by the way, there's a lot of issues with that and with John Brennan and his intelligence assessment and all of that. So I believe that Rick Grenell is the right man for the job at this time in history. And as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, we're waiting to hear what Roger Stone's sentencing is. Okay, well, here it is. Roger Stone was just sentenced to 40 months in prison, basically a little more than 3 years in prison. Wow. So it wasn't as much. It appears that, Judge Amy Berman Jackson decided not to go with what prosecutors had recommended, which would have been 9 years for Roger Stone. But I'm still stunned, people, because think about this. I just talked about Brennan, Clapper, McCabe, Comey, others that lied to Congress. They lied under oath. They got book deals. They're working for MSNBC and CNN, and they're living the high life and snubbing everybody in America, just like Lisa Page, the former FBI attorney who's no longer with the FBI. She was, remember, having an affair on her husband with another married man, Peter Strzok, who was the FBI agent that interviewed Michael Flynn and was in charge of the Russia hoax. That guy. They were just cheating all over the place and texting all over the place, even classified information, information that the Russians shouldn't have their hands on. These are people that are Russian analysts working at the FBI headquarters, doing whatever they want. None of these people have paid a price. None of them. They don't care. Impunity. I could do whatever I want. Roger Stone, however, what a criminal, right? 67-year-old friend of Donald Trump who likes to say what he feels, lied to Congress about who he knew, right? Allegedly. And now he's facing over 3 years in prison. But all of them. Oh, so what if James Clapper lied to all of you about spying on you? So what if you walked all over the Fourth Amendment? Come on, it's the NSA, right? Right? Do whatever you want. Nobody's holding them accountable. Andy McCabe lied 3 times under oath. I know I keep repeating this. He's free. He's fine. But now Roger Stone, who, by the way, had an armada at his home, an armada of agents with weapons locked and loaded when he woke up in the morning and he walked to his door in the darkness of night still, in the early morning hours, and his wife is asleep in bed. She can't even hear. didn't even have her hearing aids on. And men are standing at the door with automatic weapons pointed at him. Automatic weapons. Let's play this.
David Shortell, he was on the scene when this happened in Fort Lauderdale. Tell us everything that transpired this morning.
CNN.
Allison, an extraordinary morning. We were here at 5 a.m. waiting for whatever was going to happen. It was dark, 6 a.m., just after the hour. About a half dozen police vehicles with sirens, but no sound. Silent sirens pull in front of this Fort Lauderdale home where Roger Stone was presumably asleep. The lights were off in the house.
So they needed an armada.
About a dozen officers, FBI agents wearing tactical vests and with large weapons fanned out across his front lawn. One went up to the house and rapped on the door, shined a flashlight inside, said, FBI, open the door. Moments later, as you heard in the video, it said,
open the door, old man.
Warrant. That's what the agent said.
We
then saw a light go on the second floor, and moments later, there was Roger Stone in the doorway. That was our video exclusively you saw shot by Gil De La Rosa, an extraordinary arrest here in Fort Lauderdale.
I did that better than Klobuchar. Gil De La Rosa. Rosa. By the way, CNN got tipped off. Nobody else was there. They wanted to send a message using CNN to every single friend of President Donald Trump. You are next. This is what we're going to do to you, because guess what? We're the FBI. We're the DOJ. We could do whatever we want. And guess what, people? They can. Apparently they can. So you ask me if we live in the United States of America right now, because that's like so crazy. That whole scene was so insane that they brought an armada of people with weapons surrounding Roger Stone's home. I mean, can you imagine how embarrassing it must have been for those FBI agents? They're probably like, what are we doing? Why are we being asked to do this?
Doesn't it sound like that's for a reason, like to make a big statement? So
right.
That everybody sees it?
Well, it's definitely a big statement. It's a statement that shot fear into the hearts of all of Donald Trump's friends and officials that worked with him, saying, you're next. Because look, we could do it to Roger Stone. And they wanted to do that. And that's why they called CNN. And that's why CNN was standing there. And guess what? Yeah, they dug around. They made Roger Stone super nervous. They brought him before Congress. They were asking him all kinds of questions. Imagine if that was you, right? And you mess up or you lie. You're going to get, they recommended 9 years in prison for a 67-year-old man. Now he is going to serve over 3 years in prison. So he'll be over 70 unless he gets pardoned. I just want you to think about this. This is not supposed to happen in the United States of America. It's just not supposed to happen. And we've just, I don't know what's happened. The machine, something is taken over. We have no control anymore. We have no say. The Lady Liberty is what? The scales of justice are like, wah. They're not even balanced anymore. And so for everybody out there who feels good about this Roger Stone prosecution, just remember, that could be you. Somebody could target you. And guess what? Who will you find to help you? What will you do when you're sitting at home, scrambling some eggs, laying in bed, and all of a sudden you've got somebody ringing at ringing your doorbell? Roger Stone would have turned himself in. If they would have said, hey, Roger, you need to, turn yourself in. We're bringing these charges against you. He would have done it. He wasn't a flight risk. He wasn't going anywhere. But they just wanted to send a message. You guys, this is not supposed to happen here. This happens in Moscow quite frequently. Actually, in Russia, what's interesting is they don't even bother with the trial. I remember years ago, somebody I knew from Vladivostok would say, when Moscow wanted to clean up town, would want to get rid of their enemies, they would just send the FSB, which is like the former KGB. It's just called the FSB now. They would just send them into Vladivostok, and in the morning, there would be a slew of dead bodies. Yeah, take care of the crime. You're done. I didn't like you anyways. You weren't sending enough money up to Moscow, or you were running your own dirty operation in Vladivostok. That's the way we handle things. And guess what? Nobody does anything. And there's no justice. So if you think it's okay to do this stuff, could you imagine if we rounded up every member of Congress and the Senate and put them through the same scrutiny that Roger Stone and all of President Trump's cohorts or his friends were subjected to? Do you think all of our members of Congress and the Senate would just walk away clean? They'd be like, oh, no, we're so good. Don't worry, we're going to talk to you without a lawyer. We don't have anything to worry about. I mean, this is just nuts, people. This is just nuts. This shouldn't happen. It should not happen in America. We shouldn't be weaponizing our systems of government, our agencies, to target political opponents. And that's all it was. That's all it was. They targeted Roger Stone. And I'm talking about those people that did not want President Trump in office, former Obama administration officials. They targeted him. They targeted Paul Manafort. They've targeted Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. They targeted numerous other people within the administration. And some of them have paid the ultimate price, and that is their freedom. And it was all because they were friends with President Donald Trump or worked for him. Don't let anyone tell you anything different, because that's exactly what it was. So I want to get out of that for one moment. We don't know what President Trump is going to do. A lot of people suspect he is going to pardon or commute Roger Stone's sentence. We don't know that, though, yet. Not right here. Maybe by the time you hear this, that may happen. We don't know. But I want to move back in time a little bit to the Democratic debate again. Oh, I like that. That was like kind of like back in time music. I want to go back to the Democratic debate because I didn't get a chance to talk about all the things that I thought were important to talk about. And this is Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg basically getting into I call it a cat fight, but we don't have good enough cat meows right now, do we? But you don't even need to listen to the sound effects. Just listen to this.
A los sonidores hay que decir que este país es tu país también.
Gracias. Everyone was as perfect. I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete.
Perfecto. Este país. I mean, I think it's because, Senator Klobuchar actually did not know. This all stemmed from an interview with Telemundo. She's doing the interview with Telemundo, and they ask her about the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and she didn't remember his name. She didn't know his name. I mean, that can happen to people. But I think if you're running for the presidency of the United States of America, you should at least know just that one name. Our southern neighbor in Mexico. You should know that his nickname is AMLO. Very easy. AMLO. AMLO. Because he's got so many names. Nobody really knows what to call him sometimes. And that's very common in Spanish households, I know. Because my mom and her family, they would have big, long names like that as well. But it's AMLO. It's easy. It's simple. But then Pete Buttigieg, he's kind of like, listen to my Espanol. And he's kind of making her feel, I want to hear it.
A los sonidores hay que decir que este país es tu país también.
Gracias. Everyone was as perfect. I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete.
But come on. I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete. It just sounds like we're in high school or something. And, and then Pete was being a little bit mean. But that whole moment, I don't know. I was just kind of like, okay, seriously, this is it. We got socialists, catfighting, Mike Bloomberg, Bernie Sanders, summer camp. Can we play some of that summer camp? Because I do
have a summer camp.
I do have a summer camp.
I do have a summer camp.
It actually kind of reminds me of like a TV like a TV show my daughter, who's 7, watches. And I'm not even going to say, but they remind me of the characters in the summer camp show.
Where is your home?
Where is your home? Not everybody can be as perfect as you, Pete. It was just like, whoa. This was like a real down and dirty. So now what I think everybody's waiting for, though, more than anything, is who is going to win the Democratic primary. And what is that debate with President Trump going to be like? That's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, it is going to be crazy. If it's Mike Bloomberg, Trump is going to go low, right? Not like literally. He's going to be like, and you have a box and I'm going to have a box. So I think like no matter what box, what does he call a mini Mike, right? No matter what box Mike Bloomberg uses behind, Trump is going to get one the exact same size. So no matter what, it's just going to keep going. That's going to be funny. It's going to be very high school, very entertaining. But no, seriously, on a serious note.
It isn't very serious. It's going to be unbelievable TV to watch that debate.
Everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting. What do you think?
Well, if you think about it, that was all it was. Like, this is what we get. 18 years in Afghanistan. We have drug prices surging. We have, a situation still at our southern border, and here we are talking about, oh, you're so cool.
Yeah.
You have 3 houses.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a summer camp.
I do have a summer camp. I think that, I don't know if people in Vermont, I'm still trying to get that wrapped around my head, call their like getaway homes summer camps. I don't know, maybe there's summer camps.
Again, tweet us what you think a Bernie Sanders summer camp would be like.
I want to know what Bernie Sanders summer camp would be like. I really, really do.
But Sarah, okay, can I just ask you a question?
Right.
Like, what is the Democratic platform that they're running? It's really just, we're not Trump, right? So how are they going to debate that?
See, this is going to be this is the biggest thing for the American public is the Democratic platform, all about hating Trump. And that's what it appears to be. And if that is the case, it's pretty self-evident right now, and fighting each other, is there any chance that President Trump won't win this election? No. Not based on what's happening now.
If you don't like something, give a solution.
That's it. And I think Americans feel that way across the board. Everybody wants to hear something new, feel something new, be heard, actually know what's going on in your own community. And when we look at the Democratic platform, when we look at the potential candidates and we see who's going to be, honestly, I don't want to make any predictions. Bernie is holding steady. He has the most backing of the party. And we see the young people moving towards that. And that scares me. That idea of socialism is so frightening to me because that's something that my mother fled in Cuba. That's something that people are scrambling from overseas to get into this country every single day, even across our border. People from other parts of the world where their countries are run by dictators or where they're faced with hardships, unimaginable hardships. To know that there are so many young Americans that really have no idea what it's like to live underneath these type of governments, underneath these socialist communist governments like Venezuela, like what we're seeing in Bolivia, like what we're seeing happen all across the planet. Look at China, for crying out loud. Look what's happening to their people with the coronavirus and how they're just throwing people into the back of vehicles. We don't want this to happen here. And we certainly don't want a healthcare system run by the government. I could tell you that. That's going to be a mess, a huge mess. Well, I'm going to be wrapping it up here, folks. I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This is a Sarah Carter Show. You can read all of our breaking and latest stories on SarahACarter.com. That is SarahACarter.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at SarahCarterDC. Again, follow me on Twitter at SarahCarterDC. I am so happy you were with me, America, today. And, we're going to keep our eye on Roger Stone. Wonder if President Trump is going to give him that pardon or commute his sentences. Hey, look, tweet it. Let us know what you think. I want to hear what you think. And don't forget about Bernie and his summer camp. We want to hear about that too. I love you, America. Talk to you soon.
I do have a summer camp.